Good evening. The Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission appreciates the opportunity to be live in Detroit. We look forward to hearing from you. As chair of the commission, I call this meeting of the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission to order at 6 p.m. This Zoom webinar is live streamed on YouTube on the Michigan Independent Citizens Redistricting Commission channel, YouTube channel. For anyone in the public watching who would prefer to watch via a different platform than they are currently using, please visit our social media at RedistrictingMI. Our live stream today includes closed captioning. Closed captioning, ASL interpretation, Spanish, Arabic, and Bengali translation services will be provided for effective participation in this meeting. Email us at redistricting@michigan.gov for additional viewing options or details on accessing language translation services for this meeting. People with disabilities needing other specific accommodations should also contact redistricting@michigan.gov. This meeting is being recorded and will be available at www.michigan.gov/MICRC for viewing at a later date. This meeting is also being transcribed, and those closed caption transcripts will be made available and posted on the michigan.gov/MICRC website, along with written public comment submissions. There is also a public comment portal that may be accessed by visiting michigan.gov/MICRC. Members of the media who may have questions before, during, or after the meeting should direct those questions to Edward Woods III, Executive Director for the Commission, at woodse3@michigan.gov or 517-331-6309. For the public watching and the public record, I will turn to the Department of State staff to take note of the commissioners present.
Good evening, commissioners. Please say present when I call your name. If you are attending tonight's meeting remotely, please also disclose during roll where you are attending remotely from. I will call on commissioners in alphabetical order, starting with Elaine Andrade.
Present.
Donna Callahan.
Present.
Juanita Curry. Anthony Eade.
Present.
Brittany Kellum. Rhonda Lang.
Present, attending remotely from Reed City, Michigan.
Steve Lett.
Present.
Marcus Muldoon.
Present.
Cynthia Orton.
Present.
Rebecca Satella.
Present, attending remotely from Wayne County, Michigan.
Janice Follett.
Present.
Aaron Wagner.
Present, attending remotely from Eaton County, Michigan.
Richard Weiss. 10 commissioners are present and there is a quorum.
Thank you, Ms. Reinhardt. As a reminder to the public watching, you can view the agenda at www.michigan.gov/MICRC. I would now entertain a motion to approve the meeting agenda.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion or debate on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor of adopting the agenda, raise your hand and say aye.
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 Any opposed, raise your hand and say nay. The ayes prevail and the agenda is adopted. Commissioner Janice Follett will facilitate the public comment portion of today's agenda. After Director Woods reads our public comment guidelines.
Thank you, Commissioner Orton. Once again, we're excited to be in Detroit for our public meetings this week. Once again, our public meetings to hear directly from Metro Detroit residents impacted by the 7 districts being reconfigured that the commission is currently doing. We want to remind everyone that you should direct to the commission as a whole, that there be no individual personal attacks on any commissioner, and that no one is called out by name or insinuated in any shape, way, or form. You have up to 90 seconds to provide your public comments. If for any chance that your comments become rude, disrespectful, or attacking, the chair can rule you out of order, and you could possibly be cut off from finishing your remarks, asked to leave, or given a moment to gather yourself together and conclude your public remarks. Once again, we're happy to have each and every one of you here. We want you to encourage your friends, your neighbors, and anyone in those 7 reconfigured districts of Michigan, in the Michigan House of Representatives, or anyone in general that's a Michigan citizen, that we do welcome their public comments and input as a part of this process. So once again, thank you so much for coming, whether you're in person or virtual, and we look forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you.
Without objection, we will begin the public comment pertaining to mapping. Hearing no objection, we will now proceed with public comment. Individuals who signed up and indicated they would like to provide in-person public commentary to the commission will now be allowed to do so. Please step to the nearest microphone when I call your number. You will have 90 seconds to address the commission. Please conclude your remarks when your 90 seconds have ended and you hear the timer. Please go to the public comment tool and share your comments in writing, including any specific area of map with which you are speaking. The public comment tool is at www.michigan.gov/micrc. And there is a public comment station here tonight with volunteers to assist you in accessing the website if you would like assistance. Additionally, if you have a time constraint or don't wish to wait, please use the public comment portal. First in line to provide public comment is number 1. Number 1, you are now invited to address the commission. Your allotted 90 seconds have ended. Please conclude your statement.
Well, good evening, and thank you all for coming back to Detroit. It's great to see the commission here. So I'd like to make comments about the area of Detroit that I'm from as a lifelong resident of the Palmer Park area. And specifically, I'd like to talk about how the commission has been handling some of the COIs around that area that sort of straddle or cross the 8-mile border. Now, I know that in the past, the commission just bluntly did not get it right with crossing 8 Mile. A lot of those districts were not following communities of interest. I'd like to stress that doesn't mean that you should abandon the idea of reconnecting these communities of interest that have been historically segregated by 8 Mile. There are places where you probably want to keep things on one side or the other, but you shouldn't be packing all of Detroit into districts just south of 8 Mile. You should be smartly and intelligently including communities that do cross that border. So in particular, I'd like to speak about 2. Then I also have a short write-up that I'll hand out to you all that shows where some of these communities are. But firstly, for the Palmer Park area, there is still an LGBT community of interest that crosses that border up into Ferndale. And the community of interest there is really more than just that. People who live around the Palmer Park, Palmer Woods area spend a lot of time in Ferndale. People who live on the other side will come down for things along Livernois. That is a real community of interest. I'd also like to stress that Royal Oak Township is a different municipality from Royal Oak and a community of interest that belongs with both Oak Park and the adjacent part of Detroit. That means you should be drawing Oak Park down into Detroit and not up into suburbs that have very little in common with it.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line is number 2.
Hi, Aaron Squeo from Clinton Township, Michigan. In following and watching the commission do its drawing of maps and everything, I think transparency should be held in the highest regard. And when trying to look up the work that was done last week, I was not able to find it on the website and would like to be able to find the, what work has been done so far. And that would help greatly in trying to see if the commission is actually doing partisan fairness and making sure that that is also something that is being done. Thank you.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Individuals who have signed up and indicated they would like to provide live or remote public commentary to the commission will now be allowed. I will call your name and our staff will unmute you. If you are on a computer, you will be prompted by the Zoom app to unmute your microphone and speak. If you are on the phone, a voice will say that the host wants you to speak and prompt you to press *6 to unmute. I will call you by your name or the last 4 digits of your phone number. Also, please note that if you experience technical or audio issues and we do not hear from you for 3 to 5 seconds, we will move on to the next person in line and then return to you after they are done speaking. If your audio still does not work, you can email redistricting@michigan.gov and we will help you troubleshoot so that you can participate during the next public comment period at a later meeting. You have 90 seconds to address the commission. Please conclude your remarks when you hear the timer. First in line to provide public comment is Nada L. Henoti.
That participant is not present.
Second in line is Percy Johnson. Please allow a moment for our staff to unmute you.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Thank you for taking time out to hear me. But I'm speaking on behalf of Senate District existing maps, House 8 and State 8 and District House existing map 5. And my concern, which I have always been concerned about, of giving representation for individuals that live south of 8 Mile. There's a distinct difference between the concerns of the city and residents that live south of 8 Mile have a little more concerns than individuals that live on the north side of 8 Mile. So there's definitely should be a map drawn that's going to give the power of the individuals who live in south of 8 Mile a vote, a good strong voice vote, and not weaken their vote where you got people on the other side of 8 Mile voting more with their concerns with the people that live south of 8 Mile. And the map should also be drawn up to represent the community the diversity of the community. They need representation that represent them so they can speak for them. And it's just, that's ought to be a concern. All right.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line is James Gallant. Please allow a moment for our staff to unmute you. Mr. Gallant, you are now unmuted and invited to address the commission.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, all righty. Thank you very much. James Gallant, Marquette County Suicide Prevention Coalition. These are my opinions. And just had a couple things today to talk to you about would be your mapping policy decision. You know, we have the issue about Robert's Rules of Order that we believe is required under the Constitution because Mike Brady instructed you that you have to follow Robert's Rules of Order. And now this document that you approved is considered null and void on its face. Based on Robert's Rules of Order, page 366, line 8, there shall be no debate before a motion to approve a specific action, not unspecified future language, and that motion was out of order. And also, Mr. Fink's recommendations for the mapping policy document didn't include the requirement on page 3666, line 8, for you to start the debate in the beginning, even to start mapping. And also, that's also in your vice chair policy that says that the vice chair can be directed to facilitate the discussion that's before the commission. And it doesn't get before the commission until there's a motion with proper support. And then it becomes, and that's in your withdrawing a motion policy, says after a motion has been seconded, which begins debate, which begins discussion. So you're already acknowledging you have to do this, but you're not doing it in practice, Madam Chair. This is completely out of order. And please, point of order would be in order for any member like that, Member Lang, or anybody that is talking about the rules. Please just request a point of order, and then it'll have to be explained to you. Actually, by point of,
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line is Dustin Witches.
This
Please allow a
participant is
moment
not
for our
present.
staff to unmute you.
Sorry. That participant is not present.
Next in line is Ryan Reese. Please allow a moment for our staff to unmute you. Mr. Reese, you are now unmuted and invited to address the commission.
Commission, can you hear me?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for your continued service in this difficult time. I thank you for the time to speak. I am from House District 14, and I've been serving here congregationally for many years. I've had the opportunity to see the difficulties that disenfranchisement of minorities in the area have caused, and I think it is very important that we continue in the work to improve there. At the same time, just as important is maintaining the constitutional rules regarding watching for partisan fairness. It is very important that we be mindful of all things as stated within the state constitution. And I would ask and direct on the behalf of my district that you continue to do so. Once again, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line is Abid Yayoub. Please take a moment for our staff to unmute you. You are now unmuted and invited to address the commission.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, thank you. My name is Abid. I am I'm a resident of District 3, and I just want to make a quick comment about District 3 and the push for map 292, and I appreciate the effort all of you are doing. It is my opinion that the map maintains the integrity of the Arab American community as a community, as a common community, common interests. And it maintains a solid, voting block and representation for the Arab community. I know there was a lot of conversation over the past few days about fracturing the boundaries of Dearborn and about Melvindale as well. And I think the right choice is made on some of these maps, including 292, of having Melvindale more in line with Allen Park and the Downriver communities, particularly around the school district and the courts and the police departments, all sharing resources with Allen Park. And the current makeup of 292 does allow for appropriations to be distributed the right way, for issues to be addressed the right way, and for the representatives to really be able to address the needs of their communities. And urge you and to adopt a layout of District 3 that is currently the one modeled off 292. And again, thank you. We know this is not an easy job. You all are doing wonderful, so we do appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Next in line is 2802. Please wait for a moment for our staff to unmute you. You are now unmuted and invited to address the commission.
That participant is not present.
Thank you. Next in line is Adele Mozip. Please wait a moment for our staff to unmute you. You are now unmuted and invited to address the commission.
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can.
Thank you. My name is Adel Mu'zub. I am a school board member in Dearborn. I'm here speaking on my personal capacity, also in support of map 292, the proposed map. I believe that District 3 needs to stay intact. Melvindale should not leave Dearborn, since they share a common interest that was researched when we had the first round of the commission. So I truly appreciate the commission's work in getting District 3 where it is today. And I do understand that you have a difficult job of balancing now the redrawing of the 7 districts, which District 3 is not really affected by those 7 districts. But right now, with the current work, we see that Melvindale is going to be left out of Dearborn. So we hope that you adopt again 298. I'm sorry, the map that I'm speaking to, and then supportive. I truly appreciate your work once again, and I thank you.
Thank you for addressing the commission. Sarah, do we have anybody else?
Yes, we have one more public comment participant in person, and that is number 3.
Okay, sir, would you come up to the microphone?
Hello, my name is Norman Clement. I am a resident of Detroit. Again, guys, thank you again for doing this here, coming to Detroit. My concerns are is that we've done this process many times before. I know the court has enacted a stay for his representation, but I live in District 14. We have a representative that looks like me. And I was happy with that district. I'm also concerned that can we make this fair without impacting the other lines of those other districts here? That's my other concern. My other concern is that are we going to make these lines fair and accurate for all representation, especially black representation in the city of Detroit, and make it not gerrymander or make it friendly? I know that you guys are going to do the best job you can. My also concern is that please do a diligent, not a fast job, but do a diligent job so the representation can be fair and folks to their liking. And that's all I have right now. I'm going to sit back and watch, and if I have any questions, I'll come back up. Thank you.
Thank you for addressing the commission. That concludes our public comment. Please feel free to email public comments to the commission at redistricting@michigan.gov or submit public comments on the mapping portal off the commission's website at www.michigan.gov. We appreciate everyone who offers public comment in whatever way you choose and invite you to keep sharing your thoughts.
Okay, so next on the agenda is the mapping process by the commission. Without objection, we will go back to Elaine Andrade. Hearing no objection, proceed, Commissioner Andrade.
Thank you. Can we bring up the 01-22-24 version 3, please?
Okay, this is right where we left off. I guess everybody can see it.
Okay, thank you. Can you zoom out a little so we get all of what used to be 7?
Okay, how far out do we want to go? Do you want to go?
I think at this time I'll pass it on to the next commissioner.
Okay, then that is Commissioner Donna Callahan.
Okay, I think at this point I'd like to try something a little bit different than what we've been doing today. I'd really like to go, I think we've got several maps that are completely filled out. I don't know that any of them are perfect or the strong map or the one we want to submit, but I'd really like to see if we could get everyone to collaborate on an assessment of the maps that we have filled out completely today and identify what we think the strengths are and what the weaknesses are based on the criteria that we're supposed to be using to draw these maps. So I only want to look at maps right now that we have completely filled out and that have the correct, have the first two criteria met in full, where the population is balanced and the districts are contiguous. And then do perhaps an assessment of the next criteria, which is around communities of interest, and just see the relative strengths and weaknesses of each of these maps meeting that criteria. I think we decided not to look at partisan fairness just yet. There's another piece of work that will be done on a different day. But for now, let's take a look at communities of interest, and then if we need to, at townships and boundaries, and see if there's any map that seems particularly strong that we can agree on, or at least get some good comments on, or identify areas where we're really falling down and we need to make some changes to how we're approaching the mapping. So if you could go back to, I'm going to look at one of the maps that we did the least number of changes on first. And I think that map is 01/18/24 version 1. That's a map where we changed the 7 mandated districts, and we also altered districts 4, 9, and 13. And so I'm going to ask everyone to give their input on how you think we did in terms of hitting the mark for the communities of interest that you know of from your personal knowledge or that you know of from the public comments and input that we received today. Is there anyone who would like to take a first stab at maybe going through each of the districts here in this map and saying what they think is a strong point and what they see as a failing or a weak point?
Can we see the population on that map?
Looks like we have some work to do on the population on this one.
Yes, this is,
I thought we had finished a map with just districts 4, 9, and 13 changed.
I think that may have been 011724 version 1.
I'm sorry, I think I opened up 01/18/24.
Yeah, we have 01/18/24 version 4 was also, that was with Harper Woods and St. Clair Shores and Grosse Pointe changed, along with the few other changes from the previous day.
Do you want me to close this plan and open a different one?
Yes, if this population is not ready, then I do. Do you know which one it was that had only those 3?
I thought it was 0117 version 1.
So again, I'm going to advocate for a new naming convention, but we can talk about that at another time. Now that we spent an inordinate amount of time trying to figure out which one of these weirdly numbered maps is which one, and the numbers of the maps change from one day to the next. For the public maps that we published that were out for public comment, we actually adopted a convention of naming the maps after trees. We have the oak plan, the hickory plan, the elm plan, and I think everybody could kind of keep up with that. I think it would be useful to do that here as well, to have some tag that followed the map through the date and version changes. Maybe we name them after flowers, or animals, but we could have a rose map and a daisy map or whatever, and we wouldn't have so much confusion over which map is which. So that would be a suggestion from me.
That's the only one that I see that only changes the 7 districts that we have to change, plus the 3 that you mentioned. But I thought we had fixed the population, so what I'm thinking is maybe it didn't get saved somehow.
I thought we had one where the population was good as well.
It was that one. That was the last one we worked on with that type of configuration.
Well, given that we don't have that one, I guess we'll skip over that for now and go to, unless you think you can find it, Kim or whoever's running the mouse over there.
Well, I can only go to, what we have. Now, we can download the shape files off the community link, the My Districting link. These are the maps, as far as I know, that,
Just go look at every one of them, you think? Can you do that? Just pop them open and we'll take a look at it?
Yes, ma'am. Let's see here. This one is complete. This has 5 and 6.
Yeah, that one's definitely not it.
But that is not it. Is that what you're saying? I heard.
Yeah, that's not it.
And this V1 is not it. Is that where we're?
We already looked at that one, right? Oh,
Yeah,
look at a different map from that day. What is the 1/18/24 V2? Is there a map?
That was, what did
Oh, that was,
We just looked at 2. This is 3. Now, this is 118 version 3, but this shows significant changes in 5, 6, 7, 18.
what does the population look like on this one?
I think the population deviations is good on this one.
Does anyone claim this map as the one that they directed?
I believe 18. This is where 6 and 8, Commissioner Zatella, maybe?
Which one is this? This is version 3?
Yes, it's version 3. That's right.
Yeah, this is one of the maps I directed. This is 18 version 3. Yeah.
Okay, so that's perfect. We can start with this one. Commissioner Zatella, can you indicate which districts specifically are changed in this map?
Yeah, can you kind of move that over a little bit? Kent, the matrix, it's just hard to see. Thank you, that's better. So this is pretty much everything in the Detroit area. Starting out from Grosse Pointe, so 10, 12, 11, 9, 8, 1. Those are all the ones that we drew in the morning as part of our morning drawing that day. I'm pretty sure we also did 14 and 5 as part of that morning drawing. And then 3, 15, 16, 17. I can't remember if I mentioned 4, 19, 6, and 7 are all changed as well. And then I believe 13 was remodeled as well. So it's basically capturing all of the districts that were ruled unconstitutional, as well as all of those other districts where we had used the same methodology to draw them, and therefore they have the same flaws. And then in terms of preserving communities of interest, I think we did a really nice job on this one, preserving communities of interest. If we start up at Southfield and Oak Park, we have a Jewish community of interest that's preserved there. In District 18, District 14 preserves those segments of the Bengali community of interest that we were not able to fit into 9. East Point in District 12 is put back with Detroit, which was something that was highlighted in the court's decision as the previous configuration not being appropriate. For District 10, we have all 5 Grosse Pointe communities together, along with Harper Woods and a portion of St. Clair Shores. So we're preserving that Lakeshore community of interest. In District 11, we have the Morningside East English Village configuration community of interest placed together again. In District 9, we have the Bengali community of interest of Hamtramck and those surrounding precincts kept together as we were requested to do so. Same thing with District 1. We have the Latino community of interest, which has been kept together for the most part. District 3, this is actually the configuration that the public commenters were talking about, that 292 configuration that they were mentioning is the best configuration for Dearborn and Dearborn Heights, where you have most of Dearborn intact with the portion of Dearborn that can't fit into a house district put into Dearborn Heights, along with a few remaining neighborhoods that are in Detroit that are have a high percentage of the Arab American COI in them. District 4, I don't think we have any community of interest there specifically that we were targeting, but for 16, I would need to see the neighborhood map, but I believe that is where we put Morningside, or I'm sorry, not Morningside, Grandmont, Rosedale, and Minnock Park. I believe that community of interest is put together there. And actually in 8, we also have the Delray neighborhood, which is kept together there as well. So yep, there they are right there is the Rosedale Park. And then you can see Dexter Linwood is put together in 8. So there was a lot of attempt to keep those communities of interest together in this map. Can you scroll out a little bit? And then again, this fixes those districts that we had previously stretched out and reached into the suburbs on. And instead of now having portions of Birmingham reaching down into Detroit and portions of like Royal Oak reaching into Detroit, we have kind of more compact districts on this one.
So a couple of comments from me, just based on comments that I have heard. You get conflicting comments, of course. You get some people saying do this, and then the next person who gives a public comment says exactly the opposite. But I will note here that there's a pretty strong 8-mile division with very little crossover except for 10 and 14. Also, District 8, when Brittany was drawing that district, she worked very hard to pull in quite a few more of those neighborhoods into District 8 that are currently residing in District 5.
So, I mean, that's certainly an adjustment we could make and make an alternative map. I mean, you could slide 4 over into the bottom of 8, slide 8 over a little bit more, and then bring 5 down. I think as long as you're preserving those communities of interest I mentioned, I think that would be fine. And I think that would make a good alternative map. And that was actually something Commissioner Lang and I were kicking around working on. So that would be one thing. I think the big risk with kind of crossing that 8-mile boundary is I think it's fine if there's a community of interest, such as the Bengali community in 14, or with what we did in 12, or again with 10. I think that makes sense when you have a distinct community of interest you're trying to keep together. But I think if you're just reaching out without some kind of justification behind it, I think it kind of looks suspect at this point, given the court's ruling. And I do think some of the public commenters today, their concern is partisan fairness, and a concern that if we do bring Detroit, mostly within Detroit, that it's going to impact partisan fairness. I've already run partisan fairness on these on my own software, and I don't think it's going to be an issue at all. Every single map we've drawn so far is performing at the same level of the Hickory map that we had previously adopted. So I don't really, I understand people have those partisan fairness concerns, and until we can give those numbers to the public, they're going to be there. But I think we're okay from a partisan fairness perspective, particularly with this configuration on District 10.
Okay, I don't think we're ready to address partisan fairness yet. You may have some software, but the rest of us don't. So I don't know what to say about that one yet. I'm just going to leave that one off the table. So for now, looking at the communities of interest, does anyone else have any comments on this map in terms of strengths or weaknesses, or whether the changes were more extensive than they should have been to accomplish the goal that the courts gave us? I'm sure there's a balance there, but is there any comments from anybody on that, or no?
I have a comment. I like how some of these districts are configured, and I think we did a good job of keeping communities of interest that I know of together in most of the areas, but I feel like the changes are too widespread, too far beyond what the court order said. Commissioner Lang.
I think the districts on this particular map represent the Constitution actually quite well. When you look at compactness, it's brought areas into a more compact, not stretched out. We took a serious look at communities of interest in it. The population wise, we're in the good, the green zone there. So I think overall it's a good map, especially from the community of interest standpoint. There's been a lot of drawing going on where you're talking about neighborhoods and stuff, but this is actually community of interest that people have given us, that the public has spoken to. So I like it.
Juanita, do you have any comments based on your knowledge of downtown Detroit or the Detroit neighborhoods?
Based on my knowledge, it's pretty well some of everything mixed in downtown Detroit. I'm hearing a lot of the Bangladesh and the Arab neighborhood and this neighborhood. Where is it that the Black neighborhoods are really located on this map?
Well, we aren't using race at this point, so we can't really point that out.
I think they're the ones that's suing us, so I don't know what you're gonna do with it. I know we can't use Black, we can't use race, but I just asked where are they located? As a, like.
Are there communities that that have strong ties, whether it's due to a school or a park or a church or the way the streets are laid out, or the way people have been together that we need to think about that's not being addressed?
Yeah, well, we already spoke on, I think we already worked on keeping Ecorse and River Rouge together, Melvindale, Lincoln Park, and Allen Park more or less together. So I think Brittany worked on going closer to 8 Mile, and
Brittany had the 8th district quite a bit different. She took in a lot of 5, particularly northern part of 5, into the 8th district that she drew, if I remember.
We can always use another map and start on another map if you like, you guys want to, but I'm just concerned about, I'm concerned about Detroit because that's where we're having a lot of problems with when it comes to mapping. And we can't talk about the race issue, but it's there. And so we got to fix it some kind of way without speaking.
Commissioner Satella and then Commissioner Wagner.
Yeah, I was just going to add, I feel like there are 4 good, complete maps that touch districts outside of the specific districts named in the court's order. This is one of them. I personally think this is the best because this was kind of the final of as we were making changes and saving those alternative maps. I think this is kind of the farthest along in development. I personally, and I'm going to express this multiple times in the next week, I think what we need to be actually presenting to the court is two versions, one version that touches other districts, another version that doesn't, so that the magistrate and then ultimately the court can decide what exactly they mean by the order, because there's obviously differing opinions right now. And I think that's the best approach. I think in terms of, advancing one that touches other districts, I think this is a great choice. But I don't know that there's another complete, fully baked map out there that doesn't touch those districts yet. And I think that's what we need to focus on at this point, because I don't know that there's anything out there that is complete, has the proper deviation. I mean, this map has everything at this point. It's got the deviation. It's, been run for any kind of discontinuity errors, anything like that. So I feel like this is a great choice to present to the public and see what they think about it. But I think there's still room to go on working on those other maps that try to not touch those surrounding districts. So that's just kind of my thoughts on that.
I agree with you.
Thank you, Commissioner Zatella. Is there another map that we should take a look at here?
Commissioner Wagner still has her hand up.
I was just wondering why we're critiquing maps when we're supposed to be map drawing.
Because I'm getting confused about what maps we have out there that are complete and which maps we have out there that are maybe making the same mistakes. I had hoped this would be a quick look at the maps we have that are filled out. We could get some kind of consensus on the ones that we think are closest and that we like best, and we can make sure we're moving in that direction and not just propagating map after map after map. We got 12 maps out there and they're all, nobody knows where the holes are or what we need to be concentrating attention on. It was just my approach. It's my turn, so I thought I'd do it that way.
Commissioner Eid.
In my opinion, this map changes too much, and I don't think it does a good job of supporting the Middle Eastern community of interest. But that aside, it's an option. We can talk about it later. There are other options too. Last week, we had 2 copies of the same map. They only differed in their adjustment of Grosse Pointe being with Grosse Pointe Woods or with Grosse Pointe being with Harper Woods or with St. Clair Shores. And that is also a completed map. And it changes some districts, but it doesn't go as far as this plan. Those are 01-1824 V4, and the other version is 01-1724 V1.
So can we have one of those maps opened up, please?
Before we save this one, could we consider what Commissioner Callahan suggested of maybe we can keep the naming convention but put another word behind it or something so that we remember which one this is?
Commissioners? Commissioner Callahan raised that suggestion of adding flower names to the different versions with me last week. And to help me keep track, it's something I've actually been doing in my personal log. So I'm happy to lend those flower names if it's helpful.
I think that would be helpful to me.
Unless someone has an objection, Commissioner Zatella.
Yeah, I just, like I said previously, when we moved maps into the next phase, that was when we gave them names. And during this phase, we kind of kept the numbers and we just kept track of them, which of course I would encourage everybody to do. So I just think at this point, we shouldn't be using flower names because otherwise we're going to have to go all the way back to the 17th and rename plans to add in flower names. Because we have maps going back to the 17th that are complete maps. And so I just think it's gonna, number one, create a lot of administrative work, particularly knowing Autobound Edge the way that I do. I'm very familiar with it at this point. It can be a bit finicky. And I think when you're gonna go in and try to rename 20 plans, you're gonna be having it lock up and crash on you and causing all kinds of issues. So I would just suggest we keep things the way they are. Hopefully we can be moving some maps forward by the end of the week, and then we can start giving them names at that point.
Mr. Stegall.
I'd like to remind everyone that any plans done prior to the day have been posted on the public website with the names you see here. So when we start, then take that into consideration.
Well, we already have public complaints of them not being able to find our work in progress maps. People are out there looking for them to try to see what we did today and what we did yesterday. And unless they're sitting here watching the meeting, they have no idea that we named, yesterday's date version 1, today's date version 4. And so I imagine that's somewhat difficult for them. I think we should I'd just make a motion, we make the change, and if anyone would second it, then maybe we could just take a vote. I don't want to spend all night, talking about it.
I agree with you, and I think this map, we don't have that many going all the way back to the 17th that are completed. I like this map as, for all the reasons Commissioner Zatella pointed out to us, and I think this is a map that we need to definitely run the partisan fairness on, and if we can maybe name it the flower names so that we can keep track of those maps that are complete and ready to move to the next phase. Maybe that would be helpful for us.
So Commissioner Callahan, was that a motion?
Yes.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second to add flower names to the end of our naming convention for these maps that are completed at this point that we're reviewing. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, raise your hand and say nay.
Nay.
Okay, the ayes have it. So we will add flower names to the end of our naming convention for the maps that are completed and that we review today. Are you still?
Okay, so is there a second map that is filled out that we should open up and take a look at and see if we think that one's complete, and when we want to run our partisan analysis on later, and get some input on what people think about the map?
So before we do that, we should give this map a flower name.
Right. Sarah has her hand raised, so Sarah.
Yes, Commissioners, if it's helpful, I'm happy to share my screen really quickly to show the family flower names that I've been giving to the various groups of maps. And you can take a look at those and consider those if that's helpful.
Thank you.
Why don't we just call it Rose?
I like Rosebud.
Rosebud works too. Aaron, help me work on it. Oh, you're getting fancy there, Sarah.
I was trying to go with flowers native to Michigan, just like we did with the trees. So some of these might not be as familiar, but they are flowers native to Michigan. So the map family that we just looked at, that was worked on by Commissioner Satella and Commissioner Wagner and Commissioner Lang, is in the lupine family. The maps that Commissioner Eade was referring to originates from the bergamot family, and the offshoot that he created with the difference in gross point is the trillium map. So the next ones that you had discussed taking a look at were those two. The initial map that you began working on, one of them was part of the Astor family. So you can really see the evolution of the various maps over the same days based on what flower family they're in. And then coneflower is the one that originated with Commissioner Kellum. and Yarrow being the one that was begun today by Commissioner Andrade.
So can we please open up the lupine map?
Well,
The bergamot map, I'm sorry.
Well, if we're gonna do names, we should name this map a new name. And the way that you have, Sarah, that's very helpful. It shows the development, but I, at this point, want to give this map a specific name. And I would prefer Rosebud. I think it's pretty.
Got that, Kent?
I'm not looking at the Autobound Edge and the spreadsheet. I mean, when we come to it, somebody has to give me those names.
So it's 011824 version 3 is now going to have a tag on it, Rosebud, as well. The one you just had open.
I just want to make sure I get it right.
Yep. So 011824 V3 HDCOL is now have a tag Rosebud on it.
Okay, I can do that.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Brace?
Yes, Madam Chair. Open my mic. Yes. My suggestion would be sorry about that. My suggestion is that the excellent start that Sarah has done with the spreadsheet, if she could have a separate column with those flower names, that way we could sort on those flower names and everything else comes along. But that will give us capabilities of sorting which ones and the history at the same time. Just an idea.
Happy to do that, Mr. Brace.
So if you finished renaming the Rosebud map, could we please move to Commissioner Eads' map? I think that was Bergamot.
Well, it's not my map, just for clarity. I think I don't think I even started this one, but just to be clear.
The community Bergamot map, then.
And that would be the 11724 V1.
Do we, 11724 V1. Name of this is okay, what flower is this?
Bergamot, B-E-R. Yeah.
Okay, the next one.
Can we take a look at that map?
It's on its way.
So let's check the populations first and make sure it's still a good map. And would someone like to comment on the strengths of this map and why they think this is a good candidate?
So while this is a complete map, this is, I think, one of the ones in the early development of the map we just named Rosebud. So this again is touching outside districts.
This one changes District 7. I mean, the 7 districts that we have to change, plus 4, 9, and 13, plus the addition of Districts 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. I believe it became Rosebud later on in the process, but Rosebud changes significantly more districts than this one does. I don't see any other changes to this besides the ones I just listed.
It has the original.
Excuse me. So Commissioner Eid, how would you compare this map to the previous one that we looked at in terms of communities of interest?
The COIs are similar. I mean, just not as many other districts that weren't impacted by the court case has changed. You have District 1 being a downriver community of interest, heading up the river into, but not quite the Detroit area. You have a downtown Detroit area that goes up to Grosse Pointe. You have the Midtown area that goes north up to 8 Mile. You have the Hamtramck, Yemeni, Bengali community of interest with District 9. It's actually much of the same stuff that Commissioner Zatella listed, only it doesn't change as many of the districts on the outside portion. And one of the biggest differences, in my opinion, is District 15 isn't changed here. And in my opinion, it gives the opportunity for this district to support 2 districts from this community of interest instead of just 1. Now, that's just my opinion. It also takes Melvindale out of 3 and puts it into 2, which, you know, we can debate, but it also has the Royal Oak, Oakland County District, again, ending at 8 Mile. We might want to talk about if we want to include some of the stuff we've heard today in public comment in there. And then keep in mind, there's the other version of this that has the difference in districts 10 and 13 in their inclusion of what Grosse Pointe should be with.
I like District 15 in this map much better than the previous one where it was way less compact. That's the thing I notice about this. I do like that the districts seem compact. I don't like that we changed some farther out, like 5 and 6, I think it is. But I think this is an improvement over the one that we just looked at, as far as the amount of changes that we made that weren't ordered. Commissioner Zatella?
Yeah, can we get the neighborhood overlay on this?
I'm sorry, I'm going to change the color of 4 so it's actually, so it's more visible.
So, my concern with this map is it does do more division of those communities of interest that were identified in the other map. So if you look in the kind of above Schoolcraft Southfield area, you can see the edge of Grandmont is split. So parts of Grandmont, Rosedale Park are divided. Same thing with Dexter, Linwood. there was an adjustment that we had made to that Dexter Linwood neighborhood, bringing it farther west based on feedback from the public that is not accounted for in this map. In District 9, I don't believe this completely encompasses the entire community of interest for Banglatown, particularly the Hamtramck area. And then I noticed we also took off a part of the Morningside East English Village over near Grosse Pointe area as well. Can you scroll out a little bit, please? I'm sorry if I'm going fast. I just know these neighborhoods pretty well. So yeah, you see we've got that part of Cornerstone Village divided off and put into District 10. So I think in general, this map just divides more communities of interest. And then in terms of the Dearborn Heights configuration, we at this point have quite a few public comments out there about this particular configuration versus the one that was in the prior map. And so far, everybody seems to be saying they prefer the other map, that it creates a larger Dearborn district without having that portion of Detroit into it, and creates two good strong Arab American COI districts. So, you know, based on what the community in Dearborn is saying, that this is not their preferred configuration. I would also add that fundamentally, I think any map that doesn't fix these outside districts is problematic.
I'm sorry, any map that doesn't fix what?
The other districts, can you scroll out a little bit, Kent, so you can see more? And can you take the neighborhood overlay off again? I'm sorry. It just makes it hard to see. Thank you. I still think the districts of 17 and 16 are problematic because they're combining Detroit with parts of the suburbs based on that advice that we had received to do that. So I think that would concern me with this particular map.
So what about 17 is concerning? What specifically is concerning you there?
So just how, if you notice that I'm getting some feedback. I'm not sure where that's coming from.
Well, we're waiting for Mr. Fink to talk.
Okay.
I can jump in here. I don't know. Are you getting feedback on me as well?
No.
No.
Okay. I just wanted to just take a moment to jump in just to, you know, reiterate what I've stated before and what's now in your mapping procedures, that you should only be amending, modifying districts that the court did not strike down as reasonably necessary. So just please make sure to keep that in mind as you're proceeding through this discussion moving forward over the next couple of weeks here. And again, as I said before, I'm a bit of a broken record on this, but I just did want to take the opportunity to jump in. And I thank you for that opportunity. But you know, you should only be modifying districts other than those that were struck down by the court as is reasonably necessary to address the court's concerns with the districts that were struck down. The court did not instruct the commission to redraw the entire Southeast Michigan area. So that's all I'll say for now. Thank you.
Nita, did you have something?
May I continue? She had asked me a question.
Juanita has had her hand up, so you started talking when I was trying to call on Juanita.
Okay.
I just wanted to say that the people that sued us was Detroit, the Detroiters, the Black African Americans in Detroit. Now, you say we can't use race, and I do agree, but we can name Bangladesh, Dearborn. We know what race that is. We know what Bangladesh race is. We know what all the races is. And when I mentioned just Black, y'all said I'm using race. I mean, what I'm supposed to say, African Americans? First was Black, then they named us African Americans. I'm just a little confused when I'm not doing anything different than you guys. When you say Bangladesh and Dearborn, we know that nothing's in Dearborn but that particular race. Nothing's in Bangladesh but the Bangladesh people. And so when I say Black African Americans, then you say we're talking about race. How else am I going to explain who we are?
That is a difficult thing. I was thinking the same thing when we're talking about Banglatown or Dearborn. So, Mr. Fink, do you have any words for us?
Well, first, I know Commissioner Zattel's hand was up or is still up, and I didn't know if she was trying to jump in on this point, but
No, I was just trying to answer the question that Donna had asked me, but go ahead and address
okay.
this first.
Well, so what I'll say is the court opinion is focused on the commission's use of particularly Black voting age population, BVAPs, during its mapping, during your mapping process in 2021. And I understand the frankly confusion about the difference between talking about other communities of interest and Black voters. But the court was very clear that the commission should not be doing this, using the same process that it had before, where it was focusing on and using the Black voting age population information, the race data, which you have not been using any race data through this mapping process at all. Been talking about certain communities of interest that frankly, under the census guidelines and other law are not necessarily considered race for purposes of redistricting. But the court was very clear that the commission should not consider the BVAP information, any of the race data information. And the court, and directed to Commissioner Curry in particular, but also to the broader commission, there will still be a VRA check on the maps that are being drawn by the commission. It's just going to take place after the commission has drawn the maps. There, Mark Braden from Baker Hostetler, the court has designated him as and accepted that he will be the VRA counsel for the commission. And after the commission has completed maps, those will be provided to Mr. Braden, who will do an analysis, a VRA analysis, to ensure that the maps do comply with the VRA. So it's not as though the VRA will be completely ignored. It certainly will not be.
It's being ignored today, because when you mention Dearborn, when you mention all the different races that we've mentioned today, and just because I use Black, what else am I supposed to call us? The thing is about Black African Americans. I mean, so if you can put all of Dearborn, which is all one race, and you can do Bangladesh as all one race, and you can do other communities as one race, why you can't do Blacks?
Well,
and leave it all out, and just let us just kind of just make some flowers. Just call them all flowers instead of calling. You can name your race, other races, different races, but when I say Black, you can't name that. That's crazy.
Right. Like I said, I understand the frustration.
Well, I don't need to be trying to draw no maps, because I can't see how you're going to differentiate, because we have the Black community spread out all over the whole mapping.
Right. Well,
you'll find it somewhere in each community. What we're trying to find is the ones that take up a large amount, like Dearborn and Bangladesh and other communities. But if you don't try to find it, we're going to be back in the same shape we were in before we went to court.
Right. Like I said, I hear the frustration.
I don't want no sympathy. I'm just trying to do a right job. You can't do a right job. Black is not even a race. I'm just saying Black African Americans is what they're calling Black African Americans now. So I said Blacks. What different does it make?
Right.
Commissioners, I apologize for the interruption. I just wanted to remind all of our commissioners to try not to speak over one another. It makes it difficult for our interpreters. Thank you.
I agree.
I was getting feedback.
I'm just going to back off. You all can do this. I can't do it without mentioning.
Commissioner Curry, if I may,
I'm just going to back off you all can draw the maps the way you want to draw them.
Commissioner Curry, if I may, I certainly don't think you should be backing off. I think it's very important for you to provide your very important perspective to the commission. And I would certainly not, not want you to back off. And I understand the confusion, the frustration.
It's not
This
confusion.
gets into the weeds.
It's one rule against another rule. It's not confusion. You're saying you're saying the Bangladesh, we know Bangladesh is all white or all one nationality. When you're saying the Arabs and the what is that, the Mid-Easterns, they're all one nationality. So we all know that. So, I'm just trying, Detroit is the one that sued for their fair rights. So I'm trying to say, how are we going to do this if we don't give them a name?
But
we got to
under
give
the
them
law-
some kind of name. Just name them Juanita.
Under the law, it's different when you're talking about nationalities like Bangladesh or people who identify as Middle Eastern. It's different, and under the law,
How
they're
is it
not,
different?
for
We're all
redistricting
people.
purposes, they're not
We're all
deemed
people.
to be
How is it
race.
different? How's it different? I want to know.
This is how the law has
I
developed.
just want to know, how is it different? Because I thought all of us were people.
I agree with that. We're all people, absolutely. I don't think anybody would disagree with that. What I'm saying is, under the law and specifically the court's opinion, the court expressed significant concern with the commission's use of race during its mapping
We've used
process.
it all evening for every nationality but the blacks. And that's who sued. That's who did the suing. I mean, we've been calling Dearborn whatever their race is. We've called Bangladesh whatever their race is. We've named all the races. Now you want to give them flowers, but you can't put I don't understand how you're going to come up with this. I don't understand how you're going to do it.
Well,
And do it
you mentioned
fairly.
the
Because
flowers, I think.
already you're not fair, because if we give all of Dearborn, every one of them over there is that one race, then we're giving them what they want. If we give all Bangladesh what they want to stay together, we're giving them what they want. But blacks yet have come, you all haven't put us together yet.
Well,
So what
again,
are you saying? We can't even name our names. We can't say that we're Black African Americans. We can't even say Black. We can't say African Americans. We can't say nothing. We just have to be thrown somewhere on this map.
Commissioner Curry,
Make it plain to me.
the
And I'm
groups
not
that
trying to be
the groups that
difficult. I
you're,
just don't understand your reasoning, the reasoning of how you all coming up with this.
the groups that you're referencing and the concern that you're expressing about the identification of the Bangladeshi community or the Middle Eastern community, for purposes of the legal analysis that has to be conducted here and the framework that we're working under for this case, those are not the same as African American for purposes of the legal analysis. And the court has said that this commission cannot use race.
Then you shouldn't use it at all. No names, period.
Okay, well, like I said, and you can, convey that sentiment to the commission.
That's
The
when
other,
you-
those
when you
other
call
terms
any-
are not.
I'm gone.
I don't think you should pull away or leave at all, Commissioner Curry. Like I said, I understand it's frustrating. The legal framework is difficult to work with. I understand that. But
You're trying to make me call us something else. I don't know what to call us other than Black African
right.
Americans.
Well, the court
or
has
Black
instructed
people.
the commission
And
not
we
to
can't
use
we
race.
can't even be called a name, but
The court has instructed the commission not to use race during its mapping process. There will be a VRA check conducted on the maps after the commission has produced them. Mr. Braden will do that analysis and provide that information. And I'm happy to provide additional feedback on that information or more guidance. But the court was very clear that the commission's focus on racial, on the Black voting age population, as I had said, the race data that was used throughout the mapping process in 2021 was not was not proper, not appropriate. And Judge
Point of inquiry.
Point of
Was that you,
inquiry.
okay, was that you, Commissioner Lang?
It was. Mr. Fink, I'm sorry to interrupt, but is it possible for us to do a motion, pardon me, out of fairness for Commissioner Curry's concerns that we not discuss any race, not specifically one particular race, but in doing our mapping to the best of our ability, that we do not discuss any race, whether it be Bengali, Arab, Hispanic, Asian. Is that something that we could do a motion on? Would it be appropriate? I understand Commissioner Curry's concerns, so I want to know if we can do something to help with her concerns.
What we're working with is the commission, is that
It should be all of our concerns if we're gonna do a fair job. Because
I agree.
And I thank you for being considerate, but it should be all of our concerns. I mean, we can name every other nationality, but we can't name blacks, and that's the one that took us to court. I mean, all I've been hearing is the Hispanics, the Mid-Easterns, the Dearborners, the Bangladesh, but we've named them all day, all evening, all last night, races. But we can't name the race that sued us. That's crazy
the court,
stuff.
I understand, again.
I know,
court,
Mr. Fink, what you're saying, but you shouldn't have left there without with taking that as, I don't know. You should have.
Well,
I mean, we're paying you to.
This was not an opinion issued by me. What I'm conveying to you is the court's opinion, which is
I know it's the court's opinion. I know, but I'm saying, how can we name every other race and can't name the black race, the African American? I don't know how to do that. That's who we're fighting for. That's why we're here now, trying to put them somewhere on the map, but we can't even name them. We can't say their name, but we name everything else. And I'm not trying to be difficult. Make me understand what's the difference.
The other groups have, again, broadly speaking, Bangladeshi is a nationality. And I don't want to get into the specific groups that you're talking about, but they're not treated the same way, and we're not treated the same way by the court in its opinion, where it focused on heavily criticized the commission's use of Black voting age population data in particular throughout the mapping process during
Fink, no
2021.
disrespect to you, but I understand exactly what you're saying. I'm saying we're in a bind because we're trying to go creep around everybody, but creep around all the blacks and give everybody else their fair deal. And it's not going to happen the way we're doing it. And you know that. That's why you keep interfering and telling us we need to not use race. We've been using it ever since we started this. All I've heard about is the Mexicans, the Bangladesh, the Arabs, the other nationalities. And I don't have anything against any other nationality. But as soon as I said black, we can't use race. We are nationality too. I don't know how you're gonna do it. I'm through. I can't do it then. Let me stay away.
No, you certainly shouldn't be staying away, Commissioner Curry. I think you provide very important perspective, and again, the court was very critical of the commission's use of the Black voting age population information throughout the mapping process in 2021, and instructed, Judge Kethledge instructed during the remedy hearing, I believe it was during the remedy hearing, that the commission just shouldn't use race during the mapping process. And I see there's a couple of questions, looks like from a few different commissioners. And I'm happy to address them.
Okay, so yeah, we have several hands. I think Commissioner Zatella is first.
So Juanita, I don't know if this helps.
It ain't gonna help. Just leave it alone, because I done got a little bit perturbed.
Well,
It's not gonna help.
okay.
My
All
thing
right,
is
I'll
the
respect
fact that
that.
we can't use just leave it alone, because we're going everywhere pleasing every different nationality but the Detroiters, the poor folks that brought this whole thing to the stage. We put the Dearborners together, the Bangladesh together, the Mexicans together. We put every nationality, but where are we at on this map that we can say we're a whole somewhere instead of scattered in 11 different places? That's all I'm saying. You got to do it right.
You're not wrong, Juanita, and I understand the frustration.
Commissioner Wagner?
I was just gonna say I can understand Juanita's frustration as well. Personally, I think there's just one race, and it's the human race, and it's the ethnicities that we're involved with. And ethnicities tend to bond together as communities of interest. So I completely agree with her.
Listen, I love you all. I have no prejudice in my body, in my mind, in my heart. But you got to be fair. And that's all I'm saying. You can use it for everything but Black African Americans. And then you're saying you can't even put us on the map anywhere. We got to be scattered. Put us together with the whole bunch of us. You can't find all of us because you've scattered all of us. The Bangladesh don't want to be scattered. The Dearborners don't want to be scattered. The Mexicans don't want to be scattered. Why are you scattering us? Give us a place.
Juanita, I don't know if it helps, but I think that's why we were trying to use the neighborhoods so that we can identify communities.
It doesn't work, my dear, it doesn't work just saying the neighborhoods. I mean, that's an insult.
Commissioner Curry, if possible, I'd like for the commission to be able to continue with the mapping session this evening, and I'd be happy to continue the conversation with you at any time that it's convenient for you.
I think I was very clear. I don't need to have.
Point of inquiry again.
Go ahead, Commissioner Lang.
Thank you. Mr. Fink, you're saying that the court was very specific about the VVAP. And I am going to bring up again that during the court trial, one of the judges was very specific too, to concentrate, for this commission to concentrate on communities of interest. Now, if Juanita is familiar with the Detroit area, which she is, and there's a community of interest and that community happens to be Black, then what's the problem? As long as we're not discussing BVAP or looking at a percentage or something, if it's based on a community of interest, what's the problem? Because I have to agree with her. It is the Black voters of Detroit, the reason why we're here. And I have to agree with her. So if it's based on community of interest, just as all the other races or heritages or whatever you want to say, areas were based on community of interest, then what is the difference if it's a community of interest of a Black population or if it's a community of interest of a Bengali population, as long as you're using it appropriately, as long as you're not basing your lines on a percentage of a population, but an actual community? Is there a difference in that, especially when the judge told us to concentrate on communities of interest?
Well, to be clear, the court said not to consider race through the map drawing process.
Then we need to
I agree with you.
all the maps. Erase them all. Erase them all, because all of them are racist.
I agree with Commissioner Lang. I agree with you that there's a distinction between using broadly speaking, there's a distinction between using the Black voting age population data as you're going through and looking at the actual numbers as opposed to the broadly speaking communities of interest. What I would recommend is that the commission move forward with completing its mapping tonight. And I can try to provide, hopefully, if Commissioner Curry is willing to talk to me, I'd be happy to talk to her.
I'm not willing to talk to you after this is over with. I'm not willing to speak with you because everything we do, we should do it publicly amongst all.
Okay,
of
well, then
us.
we can continue, okay, then.
And I'm not ready to
do
go
it-
behind closed doors.
Do it publicly with you. Commissioner Zatella, I think, has a question. Or
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, if we're gonna go back to mapping, I did eventually want to follow up on the question Donna had for me.
Oh, okay. And I can try to provide you with, clearer feedback on that for, to commence with tomorrow.
I'm not
to the
I'm not
extent that-
misled in what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying, Mr. Pink. I know what you're saying, and I know how you're trying to say it. I'm not misled in that. I understand perfectly what you want us to say and not use the words Black or Black African Americans. I understand that. But if we could use all of the other nationalities, what do you think that is?
Madam
We've done it
Chairperson,
for 2 days now, that I know of.
Commissioner Lett.
thank you, Madam Chair. It's quite clear that this is a highly emotional subject, and that's fine. We've heard the same argument from each of these individuals that have been talking at least 10 times. In my mediation practice, I always use the rule of 3. Once I've heard it 3 times, nothing's going to change. At this time, I would move to suspend this, to bring this entire session to an end the session, go back to our respective residences or hotels, calm down, and come back tomorrow and pick it up where we've left off. Hopefully, not at this very point, but back to mapping. If I have a second, we can go from there.
Is there a second for that?
I'll second it.
There was a motion and a second to end our meeting. Is there any discussion? I see Mr. Stegall's hand. I'm thinking that's a mapping issue. Can you go ahead?
Before we close out of here for the evening, we need to make sure we have the plans named the way exactly like you want. The plans, everything that was touched today is going to be uploaded tonight. And I'd like to be sure we have the plans named in the convention you expect.
I'm happy to work with you on that, Mr. Stegall.
Great. Commissioner E., did you have your hand?
Yeah, Juanita, I want you to know that I hear you. And I completely understand where you're coming from.
No, this isn't a Juanita's thing. This is for every Black African American on the face of this earth. It's not a Juanita's thing because personally, I don't get offended if you don't ever call my name or my race. But I'm thinking if we're there for the Black African race, we must do what they want done, just like we've done it for your neighborhood, for other neighborhoods, for the Bangladesh, for the Mexicans, for everybody. That's the whole point of them taking us to court because we weren't there. Come on, we can't look the other way now.
Commissioner Zatella?
I was just gonna ask Kent, what was the last map we had open? I believe it was 011724V1. I think we can just maybe start with that in the morning rather than add a flower name to. Oh, you added Bergamot to it. Okay. All right.
Okay. I don't see any other discussion. So all in favor of...
Can we do a roll call, please? Sorry.
Okay. Roll call vote on ending the meeting now.
The meeting or the mapping session? Do we have more after the, oh, okay.
Commissioner Lett, so this is a motion to adjourn, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right, the motion before the commission is to adjourn. I will call on commissioners in alphabetical order. Please state yes or no for the motion. A yes being a motion, the motion to adjourn. So a yes being to adjourn. I will start with Marcus Muldoon,
Yes.
Cynthia Orton,
Yes.
Rebecca Satella,
No.
Janice Follett,
Yes.
Aaron Wagner,
No.
Elaine Andrada,
Yes.
Donna Callahan,
Yes.
Juanita Curry,
No.
Anthony Eade,
Yes.
Rhonda Lang,
No.
Steve Lett.
Yes.
There are four no votes and 7 yes votes. The motion carries.
Okay, so the meeting is adjourned at 7:36 p.m.